Hello, everybody. Yeah, we're back again, and not the greatest of performances out of the FA Cup. Alex will be very upset because his hot take was that we were going to win the whole thing, but sadly not. I've got Rich with me. I believe he's cooking, so excuse any background noise. What do we say about that one then, Rich?
Well, it's certainly disappointing. I mean, that's you don't want to go out with a whimper out of a competition when you're 2-3 games away from a final, 2 games away from a final. And it was one of those games where you feel that, you've given a chance to younger players. And obviously they're going to get a lot of stick because they weren't brilliant. But then the experienced players come on and it picks up a bit, but still not there. And he kind of felt like, why kind of bother? You might as well put the under 23s completely. In fact, the whole thing just felt, yeah.
Okay. It was disappointing. I was when I saw the front three, and I was like, oh right, okay. Perhaps we've got some clever plan here. We're gonna play Vitinha and Gibbs White narrow behind Silva, and we're going to go a lot more through and something like that. I thought, maybe we're going to try something different out here and do something. And they've spotted something in them, and they're on the training ground. They've got some sort of spark between them. Sadly, it wasn't to be. And I'll be honest, as I was saying before we came here, I thought our first half was, the tempo was okay. It wasn't terrible. It was just kind of ticked over, and I thought, all right, we're ticking over, and we kind of sit here and then step it up a bit maybe in the second half, but unfortunately that was our good half.
And for me that's
the tempo disappeared. Yeah, the tempo just completely disappeared out of the game for me. I was just
if we'd lost that, and it wasn't like a game where Southampton dominated us. They did dominate us a bit, but if it was 4-0, you couldn't complain, in fairness to Southampton.
Ruddy kept the score down, I have to say, with a couple of pretty good. I mean, even the first goal, he was desperately unlucky with the first goal.
Yeah,
and the second goal, then Donker should be shot for doing anything like that, because that is lazy-minded. He's not lazy physically, but he strikes me, and I've said it before. He seems to and I don't know whether it's just tiredness at the end of the game, but he can be so lazy-minded where he just half-assed. I mean, belted that up at like knee height. I mean, what was Rudiger expected to do with that? I mean, okay, it wasn't the greatest thing, but it was. He's been closed down, and he's had the thing belted at him. It's just like, oh God, come on.
You're not giving him any chance, are you?
No, not at all.
And he has a simple option to put it out for a corner. If you've got to be aware of the threat. So
even if he tried to square it across the other side of the area, I'd have gone, okay, I can see what you're trying to do. But that was for me. I'd noticed in a couple of times in the second half where he played some real hospital balls because he didn't seem to want the responsibility.
And that tells you a lot.
Yeah, I don't like that.
That tells you that there's a feeling of negativity in the camp. If players don't want to take responsibility and they don't want to... there's a time to play a risky ball. It's not that you're under the pitch, is it? Whereas we tend to reverse it and play, make the mistakes in our half rather than the other end.
Yeah, it's all very safe up top, and then absolutely lunacy at the back. I don't know. Yeah, the second half just disappeared without a trace. I mean, there was no step up. And we went one down, and then we seemed to take quite a long time, I thought. I mean, it might have only been 5 minutes to bring on the subs to change things around, but it felt like an eternity before we even thought about it. Which I thought, well, are we interested in this game?
I think we brought them on. The first sub came on around 60, didn't they? But in fairness, I mean, the thing which probably would disappoint me and concern me most is the front three we brought on. didn't radically change the game. I mean,
No.
we had our shot on targets. We did have our shot on target from Traore.
Yeah.
But Neto seemed a bit out of the game until a couple of runs. I mean, he just showed his quality again. But you got the impression Traore was trying. Jose Willan, nothing seemed to stick to him. I mean, I don't think it was any significant. I don't think he was better than Silva, to be honest. I think Silva.
No. I think I'd possibly err on the side of that Silva actually showed more.
Yeah.
In that. I don't know whether that's just, again, you don't know whether it's just it kind of makes me think that the mentality before the game was that this game doesn't matter.
Yes, and
then that sort of rubbed off onto some of the players. I don't know. I genuinely don't know, in a game which is not in a knockout competition, why you would play defensively all that much. I mean, counter-attack football maybe, but
we didn't have the players on for that, did we?
No, that's the thing. I genuinely thought that this was our sort of more of our focus this season, because it's a route to Europe. Else. You know, it's and there's not a great deal going on in the league now, so that's a little bit disappointing. That you'd think, being at this stage, I mean, if it was 2 or 3 stages back, you know, like when we first went in it, you go, all right then. They were never interested in this. But when you get a bit further on, well, you know, I thought, you probably want to look like it. And what is a bit? I just caught the end of some of the punditry on the game before I came on, and they were on about how winning a game breeds confidence, and I'm like, yeah. So this is a double-edged sword then. So not only have we got out of the FA Cup because we weren't bothered, we've now given them confidence to face them in the league, and that strikes me as a bit silly. Unless it's some super master plan, like a double we'll do something completely different in that one, because they'll expect the same from us again. But what I fear is we will just give the same again. That's the big fear for me. If we go out on is it Sunday? Is it
Sunday? Yeah.
If we go out on Sunday and a completely different team, fair play, you know, fair enough. We don't. But if we don't and we put that out again, well, you know, that's not. It's certainly not going to do morale very good, because you know. But what can you say? I'm struggling to find. As I say, I'm struggling to find positives. The positives for me were the first half. The tempo was actually all right, and there was knocking the ball around decent pace. But because the second half was so turgid, and they just seemed to completely fall apart in terms of the passing became slow and laboured and messy and sloppy, and the control of the ball started to become sort of. You know, that must be nerves kicking in. So. We say it all the time, don't we? I mean, tempo. Play with some tempo. Play with the tempo. Play the tempo all game. It seems, for me, that seems to breed confidence in them as well.
Yeah, and that's what Southampton had. I didn't see a team which I thought was significantly better. I saw a team which definitely wanted it more than us. I saw a team which seemed fragile at the back. I think we were probably, ironically, I thought we looked better at the back than Southampton. Even though they could have won it 4-0. But you just think, if you've got any quality and desire up front, you're going to score against Southampton. And I think we were lacking those things. Like you said something there, which I would have said, but I didn't really want to, because you kind of think, is there a master plan? And and I'm sure people will say this. I don't think there is. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, like you've said on Sunday, that we come out with a different plan and a different approach. But that to me was a game where you felt the front three, you could argue, were given their chance or hung out to dry, depending on how critical you're going to be.
Well, I don't think they were hung out to dry, because I mean, it's not like they had youth midfielders behind them. They had
they had
pretty much
experience.
the main, the main two midfielders. The main two usually get picked behind them. So I think, and as I say, the tempo in the first half I thought was on par. I thought Silva was okay, but after he'd been clattered a few times, I felt that he was just dangling a leg in, and then he was getting hurt. And I think he's going to have to learn there that if you just dangle a foot in, you're going to get hurt. If you go in committed to a challenge, you probably won't get hurt. But he seemed to just, and he was clattered a few times, to be fair. So I can see why that might happen. And again, as we were saying, he is young. He is only 18. So okay, Vitinha, God, he looks a miserable sod, doesn't he? Oh, Jesus Christ! He can play some nice stuff, but God, does he look miserable sometimes? I'm not sure that he's happy. I'm not sure he's happy here, and I'm not. I am going to make a hot take here that despite his any future performances, I don't think he'll be here next season.
No,
I don't think he wants to be here. But maybe he can't settle. Maybe he's not enjoying it, which is fine. I've got no issue with that because you're young and you've moved to another country, and if you don't like it, you just don't like it. You can't force someone to like a different country. If you don't. Fine. But he doesn't look like a happy chappy. And for me, Gibbs White, I see him as and it's going to sound harsh because it is. I think he thinks he's better than he is.
Yeah.
I feel he'll make a good career in Championship football. I say I could be really wrong and be made to look a complete mug by the end of the season. But I'm feeling pretty safe in this one. That I think he's got a career in Championship football, but he strikes me as a coaching manual footballer. He just does the coaching manual stuff, and that's it. Nothing outside of that. So he'll have a great career in football. Don't get me wrong. He'll play for years. Absolutely, he'll play all the way through, and he'll probably play at the Champions level, and he'll make a very good living out of it. And fair play. But I don't think, my opinion, that he has got enough to make it the top league.
Is the kind of player who could even have a decent career in the Premier League in certain teams.
That's fair play.
But that would be in 3 or 4 years' time. I'm all for youth. In his position, I think the one thing I would say, he maybe thinks he's better than he is, but he was trying to make it happen. But he isn't ready. And in that position where you're looking for the creativity, you kind of need a bit more. I think even Fabio, I think he showed that with Willem coming on, that there wasn't much between them. And anyone who says, William Jose is the saviour, they're deluded. He's a better player than Fabio, and if you get the balls in, but I can't, out of the box, I don't think I've seen him win a header. I know what you mean. He's not. I'll give him a few more games to get you, because he said himself he wasn't expecting he's used to having more time on the ball in La Liga and stuff like that. And if he adjusts to it, he could be quite good. If he doesn't, then he'll disappear without a trace. It's as simple as that. But the point is, though, he's 29, coming to this country as an experienced player. He's not a 18-year-old kid coming to this country with no experience.
Well, that's true. So I can see where you're going. It's like Silva. He's not as bad as people think. I don't think he is. His positioning and everything is right. And in that game, he didn't look out of place. And as you alluded to earlier, I'll be honest, it didn't taking him off didn't make much difference. It didn't look. I mean, to a point, I could say actually we looked slightly weaker in this particular game. That's not every game, but in this particular game, I do think he needs to be a bit more committed in some of the challenges. He does seem to just dangle a leg. But that's after he's been kicked around the park a bit. But he's got to get used to that, unfortunately.
Absolutely. It's essential he understands that kind of that element of you're playing in the big league now, and you can't expect, you're not going to get fouled for players just giving you a little nudge, slide kick, bit of pressure here.
Yeah, we're not playing. Yeah, we're not playing like the youth reserve football here. There'll be cynical fouls. There'll be lots of stuff off the ball. There'll be all sorts of dirty shenanigans going on. So, we're going to have to get used to that, I think. And hard to say really what the way forward is. As I say, it could be completely different. I think it does. What I think mainly disappointed me about having those three playing today is I don't think, and I'm going to go back on what I said, that I didn't think Gibbs White's going to make it as in the top division, but I don't think it really helped making him play wide in a three.
No, he's better centrally.
But why with those three? If you're going to pick those three, did we not play them as a much more compact three, one with the two behind, and then use the wing backs or the full backs to overlap and give a bit of width? The midfielders can then tuck in if the fullback goes forward, and just go through the middle. If we're not that bothered about the FA Cup, okay. Also use it as a fantastic way to see how that works against the Premiership side. Instead of everything goes wide. I mean, I watched it going around, and they took it from one side of the pitch to the other. They didn't probe through the middle at all. They just went from one side to another side, and really wide. And we seem to persist with this, with the three. I like three up front. I like 4-3-3. I like 4-2-3-1. I like all of those things. But if you're going to put everyone wide and just leave one solitary person in the middle, well, it's just not.
You'd take it every day of the week, wouldn't you? Yeah. If you're on the team looking at the analysis for Wolves, you kind of sit there and go, well, I did it 2 seasons ago. I'll just get that video out. I don't need to do much different. That kind of lack of going up the centre, we've talked about it before.
Yeah. You don't have to do it all the time, but mix it up. Go, we've tried the wings a couple of times. Well, we try now probing through the middle. Let's swap it around. Let's give them something different to think about.
And when Gibbs White has looked good, that's what he's done. That's very unfortunate for him when he managed to attract some attention on Match of the Day, which might come back to what you've been saying about he believes he's better than he is. Yeah. That was because he was primarily driving through the middle and being a bit creative. Well, if that's his strength, please play to it. Don't expect him to be Traore 2 or Neto 2. He's not.
Yeah, no. And same for Vitinha, I thought, because they played him in the middle behind the striker the other week, and he actually looked all right. He looked pretty decent there. And then he's being pushed out wide, and you're like, well, why have you pushed him out wide? We seem to be, and then we make changes in the second half to change it. Bring on 2 players and do exactly the same. Have no one in the middle. 2 people going wide, putting crosses into 1 person in the box, maybe. Well, what do you, just by changing the personnel? It's not necessarily going to work, is it? I mean, it will sometimes. Obviously, it's better to have players who it's more their natural game, but just, I don't like to say play the percentages, because you say that and everyone goes, oh, you just want hoofball, and no, I don't want hoofball, but sensibly, if you've it is fact, if you've only got 1 person in the box, it's going to be a damn sight harder to bloody score.
Well, of course, unless
3-4 against 1. Well, if you've got,
well, even if you're expecting somebody to be at the back post, most clubs will have their say it's coming from the left, they'll have their left back tracking your right back. You're still going to have 2 defenders in the middle. You're talking really good players to be able to beat 2-on-1 every time. I mean, in fairness, I thought there's some positives. There's a couple of times where Benton had to, he had to get his foot in. He had to do a bit of work to stop Silva having a shot. And I'm thinking those are the right kind of things I want to see. But yeah, it's just not happening at the moment. But I completely agree. It's not playing the percentages. It's the opposite, in fact. If you like going down the wings, then telling everybody and never changing it, so they just put 2 players out wide. Yeah. Guess what? It's not going to work. If you keep through the middle occasionally, surprise, there's only 1 player on the wing now. I mean, obviously we're not professional football coaches, so we know, Jack. But you kind of think, what am I missing then in this game of football? What am I? What am I not understanding? Which you need to go on a coaching course for. You need to go through several layers of badges to see what do they teach on that? What am I missing? Where is this alchemy where a player can go to you? And you can say it about nearly any player. You put anyone at Wolves, but if we just go down wide all the time, what's the point? Would you want to come here if you're a central creative player? Go down the wing. Jack Grealish down the wing. Where does it? There's got to be more.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we're looking at it from at a high level. We're not like you said, we're not coaches, but we're looking at it and going, right, okay, I don't understand, and I know this invites people to go, oh, because you don't understand football, that's why. No, it's not. We watch lots of football. We understand how to play. I mean, we can. I don't know if you used to play football. I still play football now, and yeah, I'm no good. I'm not saying I'm any good, but I still know how. Just because technically I can't make my legs move quick enough or in the right way or something like that. That doesn't mean I can't look at a game and think, well, I would pass that here. It's just my speed of thought is nowhere near the level you're required to be a footballer.
Yeah.
I accept that. It's not a problem. But that doesn't mean I don't understand that given a split second more, I would go, yeah, I want to put it there, I want to pass it there, or maybe move it out wide. Or like we're saying, why are we only ever going out wide when we could potentially play it through the middle, and or if I am playing wing players, why am I only putting 1 player in the box to receive them against 3, maybe 4 defenders? This isn't stuff that you need to be technically genius at kicking a ball on the ground about. This is just simple observations that when you watch a game of football and you watch it all the time, you kind of wonder, well, why are we doing that?
Yeah.
And wonder why we keep doing the same thing. And it's like,
the definition of insanity, isn't it? Doing the same thing.
What are we missing? What are they? Why are they missing it? I suppose that's probably the better question. Is like you kind of ask yourself, well, I'm seeing this, so what are they missing? What am I not understanding as to why we keep trying to do the same thing?
I do keep on thinking that the one thing that we are vulnerable on is if you've got any pace through the middle and we've committed players forward, you've got a clear run through on goal.
Yes.
There's just nothing to stop you once you come up to Moutinho. He's very good at actually tackling Moutinho. I mean, but the danger is you just put that ball wide, he's going to have to foul you to stop you. Neves is a bit the same, although he's a bit. I mean, Moutinho, none of them are bad players. It's just that I keep on coming back to the mic with me. You can't play in the central area 3 slow players. You're just asking for. I mean, I remember it in the first year when Watford just powered through the centre. I don't know if you remember that game. And maybe you kind of think maybe that's the thing. It's just soul destroying at the moment to watch. I mean, you don't look forward to it, do you? You kind of think.
No, you kind of dread it a little bit. We know what we're going to see, and you kind of have that, still have that, like today, I had that vain hope that they've worked something else out here. I mean, like you're saying about that players running through. I think Southampton had at least 3 or 4 opportunities today where they put that ball, they just put it in between the centre halves and ran onto it. But we don't even. The thing is, we never even do that ourselves. Why aren't we capable of doing that with all that pace that we've got?
It's out wide.
Well, even out wide, the ball seems to take an eternity to get to them. our old original style of play, the tried and tested that people wanted us to go back to, the three at the back, counter attack, and all that. That we don't counter attack. I said it the other week. We just don't seem to counter attack anymore. We seem to just stop. I mean, people will say, "Oh, it's Traore. It gets to Traore, and he stops them all." It's before then. It hasn't even got to him. The reason he probably stops most of the time is because most of the defense is now in front of him. I don't know. We seem to very rarely counter with any sort of sincerity. Or it's not the right word, but it's really
commit a belief that it's going to work. I think you've hit the nail on the head. Well, it's you just don't think it's going to work. I mean, I think Traore will continue to get pelters from our support because, unfortunately, I suspect he's kind of following team orders as much as he can or has to. I'm always, players who don't do what they're told wouldn't play. No manager is going to tolerate that. So it's got to come down to this is how we're going to attack. But my God, it needs to change. I mean,
I
honestly think I could put out my son's,
I just don't understand
team. And you'll be like, surely, just right, you're fast, just run down the centre. Get the ball, kick it past them, run down the centre. We'll probably get a foul. We'll take our time. We'll just lob it in, play the percentages. Right, they're going to get down the wing, two men. If he goes past you, make sure he goes wide so the player can get back. Just make sure there's two players in the middle. It doesn't matter. There'll only be one of theirs. You've got a 50-50 chance. I'm not convinced that there's great strategy here. And the reason probably is, and we're probably being a bit unfair, but you're also up against teams with very good players. Even the worst team in this league has extremely good players.
Absolutely.
You can't rely on anything a bit woolly thought. Woolly thinking. You've just got to accept that you have to evolve. You have to. It's like we said. Everything changes in the world. Nothing stays the same. It's everything changes, adapts. You get new variants.
Well, think you saying that, but it's almost like we've decided we need to change. We need to change what we do. So they've changed the formation, but then stuck to the same game plan. And I don't know. And then it doesn't seem to work because you're still trying to do the same things just with players in different positions. So then it doesn't work, and we're not playing to our strengths then, which is a real shame.
Yeah. I mean, you look at
we've got some really good players, and I think that's probably what's most frustrating for most people is we know we've got good players. We haven't got rubbish players. It's not like back in the Mick McCarthy days where you're like they really put they put the shift in and all that sort of stuff, and they worked hard and fair play. And they're not quite up to it, but they really worked hard. They won that on heart and hard work.
Can't be ashamed of my players today. They did it. They've left everything out there. Yeah, they're just not good. And I mean, I'm kind of at this stage where, and I suppose a lot of fans are, where you either get very angry, which I kind of understand. I don't think it looks great in print, and I don't think it looks great on anything other than Arsenal fan TV. Or you kind of get to the point where you just feel deflated because you want to be risen as much as the team does. And positives, Johnny. I think Johnny looks good, sharp again.
Yeah.
I think
actually that's an interesting point because I've made this point quite a few times now when he was out that he's our most important player, and it's no surprise again today he's gone off at half time, obviously planned, getting more minutes, and our second half performance is drab. Whereas our first half performance there was tempo and there was movement.
Yeah, even though the front three were obviously struggling, they had Johnny.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't think he had his best half, but he just seems to bring something to the team
Yeah.
And you noticed him being there in supporting them. I do.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I didn't notice Nori come on. I was like, well, I knew he'd come on at half time, but then I was like, oh yeah, he popped up like 15 minutes into the second half. I was like, oh god, yeah, he's playing, isn't he? Now it's not his fault because he's probably, he's probably. But you noticed. Well, my point is, I'm not trying to slate him because I don't think he played badly.
I don't.
But you noticed. What I noticed was that it was the absence that I noticed more than the player. So I don't know. It's just I just think John is a great player, to be honest. I must be having a bit of a bromance with him, I think.
No, I know what you mean. I know. Yeah, there's always the risk that you're looking for the missing magic because you want the magic back. I would say as well with Raul, I've never thought it's absolutely his goals which were missing the most. I think it's his all-round play across the pitch, defensively, and the way when you play the ball close into him when you're trying to escape a press, he's so good at controlling the ball, holding the ball. You play to Traore, he's got one trick. He's either going to play it back or turn into trouble. Yeah. And if he can get the ball past them, he's got a chance of motoring. I'm not blaming Traore for that. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying Raul is a level above that. So for me, I'll
be honest. I think Traore, when he's on song, I think is a level above. I actually think he's a bit shackled at the moment. I think he's been told go down the outside each time. He's been told not to come inside. I'd love to see him run at the defence. I would absolutely dearly love to see that happen.
Oh God, especially when they're stacked up on the left, on their left. Traore's on the right. They're stacked up, and if there's times when the second defenders cut in a bit towards the byline, and if he goes, he's through. He's taken two players out of the game,
Absolutely.
and he's on to the 8. He can either cut across or go out again. And I agree. I mean, you look and think he must have been told not to do that.
Yeah, because it staggers me that you would tell him to not do that as well. Because I look at it and you go, well, even if his final ball was absolute garbage, it doesn't matter at that point because the chances are he'll draw a foul, but he'll be putting it somewhere which is dangerous.
It's going to be a corner, penalty,
absolutely, and they're going down the byline. It's a lot easier going down the byline and only having one person, maybe two if he's lucky, to aim for. He's got to pull some. He's got to get up to full speed. He's then got to turn and get a perfect crossing to one person. I don't know what some fans expect him to do.
Well, the other thing
I'd love to see. Well, Neto comes inside sometimes, and I don't understand why he does and Traore doesn't. I'm not having that he's got no football brain because I don't agree. I think Traore, some of the balls again tonight that he was playing, little dinks and stuff like that, were really clever, and that was showing to me a football brain. He's not a player with no football. He's not just speed and that's it. He's not, because he is better than that. He's definitely better than that. For me, anyway, I'm not having that because I think that's just not true.
I think he knows he's going to get clattered as well, doesn't he? That's the other thing about it. Neto doesn't get clattered anywhere near as much because he's much more about close control and tricks. And Traore can do that as well.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely in abundance. And I think that's the other thing is I don't think he'd get clattered as much if he went inside.
No, certainly if he gets to the 18-yard box.
Absolutely, because they're not going to want to put him when you've got players like Neves, even if he hasn't scored one off a free kick wrong, he's got the reputation for to take a good free kick. You've got people like that. They're not going to want to take him down in that sort of coming inside, are they? Because it's a much more dangerous free kick that they give away. They take him down over the right. It is a lot easier to defend. It is much easier to defend than something that's a bit more, just to the right of the goal or anything like that. It's a shooting chance that you'd be creating if you went more central. But there you go. So, did you have a man of the match for the?
Well, I kind of look at players who maybe are asked to step up and do things that you wouldn't expect them to. I think Sace had as reasonable game as you can expect, but I'd probably give it to Ruddy because it could have been 4 without Ruddy.
Yeah,
and I think he was. I think I look at the ball from Dendoncker, which they scored from. He also commanded his area a few times. He came out, punched the ball out. I kind of feel that if anyone, there are other players that I think played well, but I thought Moutinho had a reasonable game, but he's not going to be effective.
Normal.
Yeah. So I'd give it to Ruddy. I think it's his last appearance this season, most likely. I think he was let down. He was let down really for
for the second
defence.
That was normal. That was a scandalous ball. It was an absolutely, as I said, for me that's a lazy mind. Lazy mind, that is.
Yeah, and the high line. If you a great through ball. You try and play a high line. I don't think we would have played that high line with Cody on the pitch. We would have been on the 18-yard. Maybe that goal doesn't happen, but you don't know what they've been coached. So I wouldn't, I don't know why we did that. But once you've, like I said, once you've got any team, you go kill a ball like that in, and if it's not offside, and they did that a few times. In fairness, I think. So I'm going to say definitely. I'm convincing myself more already.
Yeah. I'm tempted between Sace and Ruddy because I thought Sace. I don't know. He made a lot of real good. He was basically carrying the defence. I thought in the first 20 minutes. Kilman got more into it. Dendoncker but this is the thing. Dendoncker, as I said, he was all right for a large portion, but his lazy mind let him down for me. So. Which is a shame because I think he's probably more use in that back line than in midfield. Myself, he looks a bit better there, but not with that, not with those sort of lapses. Plus, Sace also tried to stop the goal with a diving header, which I thought was fantastic, and he wasn't far off either. That was the thing.
Yeah, no, great comment from the commentary team. In fairness, he's thinking, do I handle it? I mean, it was an awful commentary, but there were some good gems in there.
Yeah. I'll go with Ruddy. I think I'll go with Ruddy as well because you're right. He made a lot of good saves and commanded the area pretty well. And I'm not going to accept. Some people will try and say that second goal was his fault for a poor sort of control, but you can't fire a ball back at a keeper like that who is going to be under pressure. That's ridiculous. That was, as I said, that was not taking responsibility there, and that was
especially a keeper who doesn't play week in, week out, and has just come into the team. Yeah. I mean, if you play week in, week out, you could argue, you're sharp. You know that okay, that ball I can't do anything with it. I'll put it out. But for a player who's just come in, it's a bit unfair, isn't it, to get all those?
I did. I thought that was poor, and so that's it really.
Sunday.
We'll be playing them again. Hello. I'm just going to enter someone. We've got to let someone in. Hello. Oh, and they're connecting. 1 second. Before I go on to the next point, we've got someone to mute. The suspense is killing me.
It's Raul Jimenez.
Yeah. Stop telling off my players.
Yeah.
Stop telling off my teammates.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, RJ0423 iPhone, you're still on mute. So while they sort out the we'll be here 2 minutes. 2 minutes time. Okay, well we'll carry on talking then. Next game. So we're going to be playing them again. technical problems from RJ. Next game. What happens? What team?
Semedo back in. I don't think Hoover. I don't think he had a catastrophic game, but I think Semedo would probably be the better option. Maybe Hoover is an option off the bench. Hopefully Johnny. And Cody, I would have liked to see so much Otasawi in this game. I don't know if he's ready.
Yeah.
The little bits I've seen of him I really like. But obviously I don't see him in training every day. So it's a bit ridiculous for me to say. But that's my emotional feeling. But I don't think it would be the right game for him. I think it's got to be Moutinho, and it depends if we play 3 in the centre or we try and go 4. I mean, I don't know. I like Neves defensively, but I don't want to get stacked up with no pace at the back, as I say. Front 3 kind of picks itself, or if we go Traore, Neto, and I would start William Jose again, simply because I think Silva it would be better for Silva to come on if there's a few yellow cards being sprinkled around. And I still think he's an option to score. I mean, he is learning his trade. He is going to make mistakes. He's not going to be as effective as a 26, 7-year-old Harry Kane or players like that, or even Danny Ings. I mean, who credit to him. But he's got to learn, and he's learning in the toughest arena out there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
For me, it just, if I look at that Southampton team, I don't think they will like being run at. I don't think they'll like having trickery like Semedo can add and Johnny. But we've got to play for 90 minutes. I don't think we have for most of last season. I don't think we did. I remember coming out to Molyneux thinking, why can't we play for 90 minutes? It used to be we don't start for 15, then we only play one half. The tempo's got to be there, and to me, that's good. Yeah, we've got to find a way of doing that. Donk would have played. Well, Boll is out, isn't he? So he more or less has to play. I think maybe he's a bit better with Cody, Kilman or Saiz. Maybe Saiz in midfield, but again, he hasn't played there for a while. So these are the problems. I mean,
I hope we do play a full. I really do. I don't like the 3 at the back myself. I never really been a big fan of it, but.
Then do you play? Do you play Dendoncker? Who do you play in that 2 then?
In that 4, I mean, Bolly's
out.
He's out. He is definitely out. So Bolly's definitely out. Hello, RJ. We've got your picture. We've got no sound. You're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Got the technical details sorted anyway. How are we all after that? Bit
depressed.
Yes. We're just moving on to the next game, but we'll rewind back a bit. What do you think then of today's performance?
To be fair, and I just suppose I don't want to sound too critical on Nuno, because I suppose we all have to appreciate where we've come from, where we are now. I think he's just lost that little spark extra that he had. He just doesn't look like a man like after the Cardiff game when we won 1-0. That I know that kind of was a bit OTT, but he looks like a man that just is out of ideas. I think some of the team selection tonight was wrong. I think the big problem with us is that we're now just too predictable, and I think that because people now that the whole 4 at the back thing doesn't really work with Cody. My opinion, I don't think Cody works in the back 4. He's not quick enough, number 1, and I think he's not as commanding. I actually think Dendoncker and Saiz or Kelman might be better with that. But our problem is that it just seems to me that the back 5 just sit too deep. The 2 guys in the middle, Neves and Moutinho, who again ooze class, they're not a driving force. You see all the. I mean, don't get me wrong. We're Wolves. We're a team that's in building up. but you need a bit of energy in the middle of the park. You need someone that's going to grab the ball and drive everyone forward. And the only one we really have is Pedro Neto. Adama, I don't know. I think he, people just mark him out of the game nearly at one stage. But I do feel that it's up to Neto now to take the ball from inside our own half and try and do a Roy of the Rovers and score a wonder goal because nobody else is going to do it. And that's the way I think this our team has gone. And you look at an example, and I made a comment on the mix, and I know I can go off on little tangents and rants on the mix every so often, but a big thing that people said, and I do know when Jota left, people are like, well, why is he scoring so much? The big thing, the difference between Jota with them and Jota with us, and I do know Liverpool at the moment are in a different kind of level to us, is that their midfield did all the grafting and pushed the team up so that Jota didn't have to run from his own, run from his own half and try and beat 4 or 5 different guys.
Yeah,
and then
the whole team's further up the pitch, isn't it?
Exactly. And that was number one. So I think that it's the way we play is that people have sussed us out from a counter-attacking point of view. You play the high press, we just break down. The second thing is that the back five, if we're playing a back five, we should not need to have Neves drop deep. If anything, Cody, if he's playing, needs to step up in terms of push forward a wee bit so that, when defending, you can move into a 5. But and I'm not a fan of Cody in midfield by any means, but at least if he steps up to a 3 in midfield, it gives the 2 guys a bit more room to push forward and the whole thing moves forward. It just looks like at the moment it's kind of, you're starting at the start. We don't have the big energy players to kind of build from the back and work our way up. So we kind of, the 3 boys are kind of isolated at the top. And it just seems to me like that. I think for one, I don't want to say, I know I've been on the next line. I said he needs to go. I think that he needs to stick at what he's good at, which is counter-attacking football. The problem is that if someone figures out counter-attacking football, which by the looks of it, the last season, I think they have with us, you need to have a plan B. And I just don't think I don't think he has it. I really don't.
I've said on a few times, I'd like to see him bring in some different coach, some different voices into the back room, just to offer up something different. Because I think, like you're saying, it's getting it's not being it's being found out. I know we don't like to say things negative against the team because we all know we all love Nuno. We do, we genuinely do. We love all the backroom stuff. We love the whole team. But there comes a point where we will start to think, and some, by the looks of what I'm reading, have already gone really full in, and others haven't.
I'm probably been one of them now. I was just, Wolves for me, like my dad, who's a member of the mix, Wagstaff was Magic is his name. He is a mad Wolves fan, and he reared me on it. Like when I was growing up, it was all United were the big team, and he ingrained it in me. So even now, I'm 33 now. I have a 1-year-old son who is going to be a mad Wolves fan. It's still it's anger and hurt. Not that I want to sound directing at the manager or the coaches, because we all love the club. Like we live and breathe Wolves. During pandemic times, you look forward to watching the Wolves. Well, you hope to look forward to watching the Wolves, depending on the performance. But it's just. It's disappointing because, and all the money that's been spent, last summer, there was key areas that could have, better money could have been spent. Centre midfield, I keep harping on about it, needs to be addressed because it seems to be the spine. And to move forward, I do think, and I know there's other people who want to talk, so I won't dwell on it, but I do think we need to move to a 4. I don't think Cody's the answer in a back 2.
I'm with you on the 4. I think you're right with the 4, and you need. And I'm not so worried about the midfield if we brought in a centre half with pace, because then we wouldn't be so nervous about having that midfield, like you say, move further up the pitch and do that hard work further up, because you wouldn't. There's less chance of being caught. Obviously, on the break itself, because you've got some pace in there. Then at that point,
I do agree with you.
Not that it's easy to find. Not that it's easy to find that kind of player.
I do agree with you to a point. I definitely we do need a commanding centre half to play alongside Bolly or Kilman again. I think Kilman's going to be a big player for us in a couple of years' time. I'm not worried about Semedo. He's got a lot of flack. I think he'll be okay. Johnny's back. I still am not convinced by... I think it's unfair on João Moutinho. He's gotten so much criticism the last number of weeks. I think it's unfair of Nuno to play him every game for 90 minutes at 34 years of age. I find it hard to get up the stairs, once or twice every day. Do you know what I mean? This guy is playing 90 minutes of football and he's 34 going on 35. I think for Neves to benefit more, to dictate play, I think we need a high-energy, box-to-box guy in the middle of the park, someone that's going to put his foot in the back and then run with the ball from the centre. It can't all be through the wings because we just become predictable. Like Adama now people will say he's been found out. I just think is that people see us as a one-trick pony. If you put 2 or 3 on him, he's not the type of guy that's going to run onto something. He likes to get the ball from deep and then run at people. But if people get close to him, obviously it's going to make it harder for him. Neto on the other side as well. I mean, he's going to be a gem. And then
with that player that you're after, someone like Traore, pulling those 3 players over to him, that absolutely, you have that player with legs running in. They've got a free run in.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I'm very much pro Traore. I think he's a great player, and I think he's very, very harshly treated by some of the fans. I don't understand.
I not to interrupt you. Like I agree with you. I as you can tell, I'm from Ireland with my accent. I went up myself, my dad, and a mate of mine went up to the Crusaders game where I think we won. Was it 4-1 or something like that? And there was all the Travelling Wolves guys were there, and there was great atmosphere in the ground, and all it was pre-COVID. The abuse Traore got that year was disgraceful. Like, when I mean disgraceful, like people shouting at him on the sideline, you're not a footballer, you're this, you're that, useless, all that kind of stuff. And that's draining. And I don't think that helps players in particular. This guy does have talent. There's no doubting that. I think I'm going to be honest, in a better team, he would flourish. Because I just don't think at the moment we have it. I think there's too many square pegs and round holes. I think a big refresh is needed. I genuinely do hope, if they're going to give Nuno a chance at the end of the year, I do hope that it works out for him. But I do think if unless things change between now and the end of the year in terms of mentality, the way we play, a plan B, and not like even when we play on the 4, it's still side to side and wing backs. We need a plan B. And at the moment, I just don't. I don't think Nuno has it. But look, if I'm proved wrong, I'll be quite happy to eat humble pie. I'm going to let somebody else talk because I've waffled on for the last while. But look, it's great joining in.
No, it's good to see it. Because we're talking just before you came on about that. Very similar sort of opinions, really. Predictability and pace. I mean, Rich was meant. His thing is the pace through the middle of the pitch, stuff like that. I can't really add much to it because it's very, our thoughts are very similar. What I'm hoping...
I'd agree. I mean, you sorry, I was going to say you articulated it pretty much. You've articulated it in a slightly different way. I think what we've said before you came on, what's been said before, and your point about Traore. We made it about Jota that you can put any player, Neto. The fact he's standing out in this team tells you how good he is.
Yeah.
We're relying on Nori not only to be defensive and Semedo to be defensive, but also to be creative. And that creativity and drive should come from the centre and bring in the wide play. I can't agree with you more. It is getting to the point where it's down to Nuno to change it. And I think he tried to with the 4. I would say in most games, Cody won't work in a 4 against a really slow team with, maybe without height. Because the other thing is, he's not great in the area too. You're going to concede there. But as an organiser, he's okay. The fact Neves wants to drop back as well to occupy the same space as him when we're trying to be ping balls around, tells you that if you've got 3 at the back and Neves is dropping back, that's 4 players out of the game. Completely agree with about Moutinho. It's not
Correct.
his fault, but he can't carry the team because he has. I mean, tackling is extremely good, but if he misses that tackle, he ain't going to get back. That's just. So there's loads of things where individually those players should be, with the right players next to them, a level above where they are. But when you put them in with the wrong players, it detracts from their capabilities. And I mean, I've got to go and eat dinner now. I've been hanging on for a while. But I completely agree with you. And it comes down to those. And I mean, it comes down to what is the club like inside? Is it there's a lot of negativity because of a long season, missing out on the potentially a final, or a semi-final? Is it are the players affected because they haven't been able to get away back home, and because we've got crucial players who are from abroad? There could be many factors, but it comes down to somebody at the club walking in and looking at that situation and going, is this recoverable with the summer? And that's my view now, is we get through to the summer and it literally is down to management to say, understand where we are, crap year, awful year, let's put it behind us. But because I see enough positives to think if we make some changes and add a few personnel, I think it's a bright future. But it ain't going to be bright until we can get to that kind of summer.
My question mark. Sorry to cut across you. My big question mark is that there's two ways of boosting a team performance when a team is in a rut like we are at the moment. One is you bring in a number of fresh faces into key areas of the team that we need to improve on. I do get it's January, or else to change the manager. We've done neither. We've brought in someone that obviously Raúl will never be replaced. I know he's very close to coming back. But if you think about it, our three main sources of goals last year and the year before was Doc, Jota, and Jimenez, and the three of them out of that team now. And the other point I suppose to make is that, I do understand Nuno wants a small squad, but yet, knowing that those three players are gone, and not in, and especially trying to transition the team, which again the likes of Tim Spears and local reporters said that's what they wanted to do at the start, and play the 4-2-3-1 is what they wanted to do at the start. But yet, you take the three players that scored the most amount of goals out of that team, and you replace it with a kid. Now Fabio Silva's getting a hard time. It's not his fault either. Again, my judgment so far on Fabio Silva is that I hope he proves me wrong. But when Ronaldo, and again, I know you can't compare Ronaldo to Fabio, but when Ronaldo went to United, he was a raw talent. But when he came on, you knew he had something. You just knew he had it. With Fabio, at the moment, I don't see it. I know he tries, and to be fair to him, he probably tries more than anyone else out there on the pitch. It's just not working for him at the moment, and I think it's unfair to put him in to that position. So, number one, I suppose the first question to ask is why was all that money during the summertime spent on, who was the brains of the operation to think the team we have at the moment is fine? We have one centre forward. He's been great for the last 3 years. We've been we've been lucky with injuries. Should be all right. We'll spend money on the next generation for the club. When there was glaring misses within the team, was that Nuno's call, do you think, or was it Fosun's?
I think it was both. I think Marcal, I think there was clearly some players bought for cover. There weren't enough. The central midfield and central defence for me are probably the bigger ones, or as big. In terms of Fabio, to me, that stunk of an investment decision. You've got Brexit. You won't get him in after Brexit because of the rules. Yeah. So you either get him in now or you don't get him in. So I think there was. I'd be surprised if Nuno said, and I don't know, and nobody knows. It's like cabinet papers, isn't it? But I'd be amazed if you said, "Here's 35 million. Is Fabio Silva the player you want for 35 million?" Obvious. Where, as opposed to, we're thinking of getting this player called Fabio. Don't worry about the price. can you do something with him and improve him? And there'll be a lot, because Fosun is, look at Neto. When he came, I remember on the mix, people slating him. I remember we've all seen the classic post, he just runs and runs and runs. He's clearly going to go to a top team very soon.
Yeah.
So players can develop massively in 2 years. They can also not. So to me, it was an investment decision. And I won't, and until I know otherwise, I kind of wouldn't blame that. Your point about backup striker, it's got validity. I don't hugely subscribe to large numbers of players who aren't going to play, because that is literally a lesson in mediocrity. You can buy quality or you can buy quantity, unless you're Man U or those teams with twice the revenue we've got. You can't do both. So I also think there's other elements going on which meant they couldn't invest this year. But I'll have to wait. But I come back to your point about what you can change. I just don't see changing unless you've already made that decision and you've walked into that dressing room and you've looked at the training and you think, yeah, we're going to change it. And unless the right manager is there, you don't do anything. Because Fosun, the team is kind of been structured a bit around Nuno, and if you're going to make that decision, you might start planning now. You might have started in November, but unless that person is ready, or you think you're in imminent danger of going down, the bigger risk is to change now. I do think that, unless he's completely lost it. And that's I walk into the dressing room, I walk into the training ground, and I look the players in the eyes and I look at Nuno and I have that chat. And it's not about how you're feeling. It's just, okay, how did the game go? You know when it's time to make the call. We don't. He doesn't look happy. He's looked a bit happier recently, but I don't know on that. And with that, I'm going to have to go, I'm afraid. I will just say,
no problem.
It's all right.
I'll just say we've got to just go 1-0 against Southampton. That's my. I hope you're on again, because I really like listening to you there. What's your name? Sorry?
I appreciate it. Thank you. Rob.
Rob, I really hope so, because it's great to be able. We can't do this in the pub, so if you can do it next time, it's absolutely.
Exactly. Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I echo that. I mean, thanks, Rich, for coming on. Because I'll say this to anyone who's watching. Come and join in. That's what this is for. It's a chat after the game. If you don't fancy typing something out, come on here and have a chat with us. I'm not going to sit here and talk over you. I lie. I probably will, but but yeah, I welcome anyone to come in anytime and have a chat to you. Welcome anytime. So if we move on to the next game, Southampton again. We've got there Rich thinking it's going to be a 1-0. What are your thoughts?
I can't see it. I just can't see it. To be honest, my feeling on it now is I would rather them go back to a 4 at the back and at least try and go for it. I can't see us scoring with 5 at the back. I just can't. It's Southampton, and I can't give his name. That the manager is a good manager. He had us well sussed this time. Like last year, we had the Jotas, we had the Dohertys, we had the Jimenezes, all that kind of stuff, and it was a new league for him. That guy is as well. So we need to throw kind of a spanner in the works. I would be happy if he went to a 4 at the back. I would prefer again, obviously Rui in goals. You have Semedo. I'd probably like Donk and Saiz, if not probably Kilman and Johnny. I think Johnny being back is a big plus for us. I don't think Cody can play in a 4, and I think against was the Baggies, he was at fault for 2 goals. I don't want to be critical of this guy because he's done great for us. He's the club captain.
Yeah.
But going to a 4, I just don't think he has it. I would prefer then again, if I could, to I would say probably go with 4-2-3-1. I wouldn't want to play Moutinho again another 90 minutes so soon afterwards. So play Neves and maybe play move Saiz into midfield or something like that. You know what I mean? Something different. I prefer
I used
someone
to
like
love them two together. I always used to love them two together.
Yeah.
I always thought that they just seemed to work well together.
They never got a chance. I don't think they ever got a chance in the Premier League, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I do think it's someone like Otazawi would play a lot better with Neves. And then the three, I would play Traore, Neto, right and left. And then behind the striker, probably Vitinha. I think he got badly done where he was played today. I think he's a centre midfielder. He shouldn't be played wide. And obviously William Jose up front. And just go for it. I mean, what have we got to lose? I would rather see us go and play and lose 3-2 or 4-3 instead of going and playing miserable and crap, awful looking football.
I was going to say, I was about to say then, which backs that up. I'd rather see us for the rest of the season win 1 in 3, but trying to get this system then sorted, ready for next season. Then we'll have played 10 games or so with this new formation. We can see what works, what doesn't work, which means then we're better suited in the summer to be able to go out and go, we need someone here, we need someone here. We can move on. And then we've got I think it's a more flexible. Once we've got 4 at the back, we're more flexible with what we can play. We can have 2 in midfield, 3 and a 1, 4 and a 4-3-3. Right. You know, they're already much more, and they're more interchangeable or whatever. It just
because even if you put Dendoncker or Saiz into midfield, if we're under the cosh, move one of them back and play a 5. Do you know what I mean? Move Vitinha back and play a 2. It's a lot more adaptable than playing what we are at the moment. So I would hope he does it. It's just, as you said, exactly, you hit the nail on the head. You would rather go and win 1 in 3 games till the end of the season by playing this way, getting used to the formation and setup, so you can kick on in the summertime. That would actually make me have a lot more confidence in Nuno going forward. But if he sticks to this 5-2-3 or 5-3-2 with 0 pace, with Gibbs White, which I'm sorry, I know he's a local boy, I just don't think he has it. But again, tonight, it's unfair on me to say that because he played wide right. He's not a wide right player. Vitinha's not a wide left player. And again, that comes down to the manager for picking them. I mean, the other question I have is that, Nuno specifically said he wants to have a small squad and to be backed up by the under-23s. But yet, he doesn't do that. He plays, we've seen Hoover playing on wide right. We've seen Semedo play wide right. We've seen different players, senior players, playing different holes. Instead of giving the likes of, Corbano, again, everyone talks about him. He's supposed to be a good footballer. Why don't you give him a chance? Bueno, I saw watching the under-23s. Looked a cracking prospect in the few times I've seen him. Give them boys a chance. What have we got to lose? Fair enough, have your key guys at the back. But guys in midfield, like Otazawi, I thought was very good against that first game against, was it Chelsea, I think? Was it Chelsea he played? We won the match anyway, but I remember he was able to get up and down the pitch, and he's the type of guy we need.
Absolutely.
Those type of guys. Do you know what? I mean, what's he got to lose? He needs to change it.
Well, yeah,
and by playing the same guys and the same formation, it's not going to do it.
Well, that's it. I think also if we did, that 1 in 3 where we're actually looking to attack games, by just having that attitude, it'll transfer to the players. They'll be more up for it. Yes, we might still lose some games, but it'll perk them up. That spark that you're on about, it will give them that again, because we're actually willing to go, and there wouldn't be that frustration of just trying to sit and hold on, and I think the enjoyment may be going out the game for some of them. Maybe I don't know. But so
someone called us during someone. Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
My reception. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying there? I missed that last bit.
Oh, I was just going to say I was going to get get a score prediction.
It'll be a boring 0-0 or we'll lose 1 or 2-0. Unless he changes it. If he goes that far at the back, I give us a fighting chance, because I think anything can happen. The element of surprise, players that want to attack. If he goes to the same old, we'll either lose or it'll be a boring 0-0. Unfortunately.
Okay.
So
well, I'm going to go with much the same as you. 4 at the back, and we win. I actually think we could win possibly 3, probably 3, because we've got the players going forward. So I'm going to go with it. I'm going to stick my neck out and say 3-0 because I've got faith that we're going to go 4 at the back and go all not gung ho, but a bit less risk averse. So we'll go there. Right, I'm going to we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for joining us.
No problem.
Please join us.
I'll try and get on as much as I can. As I have a 1-year-old kid that keeps me busy, so I'll try and get on as much as I can. But I really enjoyed the chat and get people's views. You know?
And absolutely. And as I say, anyone who is watching who wants to join us, you're very welcome. We'll be back after the game against Southampton on Sunday. Until then, thank you very much and goodbye.
Fingers crossed. Thank you very much, folks. Bye-bye.